I will be making some comments from this Russian official, Sergei Lavrov, the foreign minister of Russia, based on what he said about Israel. Take a listen.
We strongly condemned the terrorist attack on the 7th of October last year, but at the same time, we strongly condemn the way Israel reacted, basically by starting a collective punishment of the Palestinians. I discussed with some Israeli colleagues this issue, and well, not even in the, I think publicly, either the Minister of Defense or some other official from the cabinet, when asked why don't you take measures, so that you prevent the damage to civilians, peaceful citizens, he said there are no peaceful citizens there in Gaza. As of the age of 3, they are all terrorists.
Okay, so that comment to me is not surprising at all. Coming from Zionist state-fake state of Israel, good thing that they said at least they're 3 years old human. They believe that Palestinians are animals living in Gaza and West Bank. So when he said that he wanted this issue to be brought to the attention of the Zionists about the disproportionate reaction of Israel, of the Zionist monsters, on Gaza and giving them a collective punishment, I was like, man, okay, you can tell them, but it doesn't matter. They don't listen to anybody, let alone Russia. Even if the whole world comes together, these arrogant people, they're not going to listen.
And with this philosophy, and when Antonio Guterres condemned the terrorist attack and then added, but it did not happen in a vacuum. You remember what Israeli reaction was? The former ambassador demanded that Guterres resigns. Eventually he was declared persona non grata. Unbelievable. And I don't think.
So basically, Lavrov is talking about the UN Secretary General Guterres when he blamed Israel for what they are doing in Gaza, and he called them out and said this is not acceptable what you are doing in there. And then the next thing you know, Israel, instead of saying, okay, well, let us investigate, let us look into this matter, it is not just you, Guterres, but the whole world is calling us out. So let's mend our way. Let's rectify a few of our mistakes. Instead of saying that, they said, Guterres, you're not welcome to Israel ever. So I don't know. These lunatics, who can put a leash on them? I don't know.
Israelis are doing good for their own interests because this notion that they are terrorists when they reach the age of 3 years. Well, this is, of course, the figure of speech, but for almost 80 years, generation after generation is growing in the situation of occupation and the situation of blockade. And of course, the parents and the teachers at school, they explain the history of the Palestinian people and what happened in 1948. So unless Palestinian state is created, which was, by the way, a precondition for the creation of Israeli state, unless Palestinian state is created, extremism would be breeding and breeding and breeding in the region. There is no doubt. And just to say that we will exterminate all Hamas members, I don't think it's a serious pledge.
Have you spoken to your Syrian counterpart in recent hours, or any other senior Syrian official, and how worried are they?
What?
How worried are they about the situation? They've lost a lot of territory.
Well, we are not in the business of checking who is worried and to what extent. We're in the business to try to help with diplomatic means to stop bloodshed and to make justice prevail. In this particular case, justice is Resolution 2254. The other authors of this resolution, including the United States, confirmed to us that they continue supporting this process as described in that resolution, and we hope that these promises and assurances would materialize soon. The reaction has been public repeatedly stated it's inadmissible to allow the terrorist group to take control of the lands in violation of agreements which exist, starting with the UN Security Council Resolution 2254, which strongly reiterated sovereignty, territorial integrity, and unity of the Syrian Arab Republic, which condemned any attempts by terrorists to disturb the life of Syrians, and which called for direct dialogue between the government and the opposition group were listed in that resolution. In 2000, if we speak about Hayat Tahrir,
One thing I just want to make mention of, Lavrov, why did you not hold Assad accountable when he kicked out his own people? Why did you not force him to negotiate, come to a political settlement with its neighboring country, Turkey, or with its own people? I mean, now he talks about inclusivity. That's fine. But I think what was missing big time was that they were trying to enforce democracy on one side of Syria, forgetting about the rest of the country. People's need, their demands were not heard. And this is the main reason why these people, this rebel, they got so much support. So I think Russia could have played, I would say, a much better role and tried to seek a political solution in the conflict of Syria. That's my opinion.
Rasham specifically in 2018 and 2020, in the framework of Astana format, 2 agreements were signed, clearly solidifying the common resolve not to allow Hayat Tahrir out of Idlib, and these agreements have not been implemented. Now they are grossly violated. We strongly reiterated territorial integrity, sovereignty, and unity of the Syrian Arab Republic. We called for immediate end of hostile activities. We stated, all of us, that we want the resolution 2254 to be fully implemented, and for this purpose called for the dialogue between the government and legitimate opposition, as provided in that resolution. The main thing is not to say something new. The main thing is implement everything to which you sign up.
Okay, so it looks like this video or this interview was recorded when? It was recorded 1 day ago. So that was most likely before the fall of Bashar al-Assad. So he was talking still believing that Assad was in power. I think that's when it happened. But nevertheless, I mean, Russia, instead of providing Assad full support, unconditional support, they could have struck a middle tone, calling the opposition to come on the table with Assad, asking Erdogan and Turkish government to also get involved in this peace process. But instead of doing that, when they saw in 2016 that their fighter jets, their military, they were hugely successful in quashing the opposition in Syria, Russia decided to just ignore the Syrian people. This is my opinion. You can disagree, but I think Russia could have struck a balance for both sides so that future conflicts could have been avoided. The one we have seen, obviously, fortunately, there was no mass killing when the rebels took over Damascus. There was hardly any killing, actually. But even that one could have been avoided. The rebels would not have approached or advanced towards Damascus had Russia played a little bit more neutral role.
It's not our fault that the biggest trend of the modern world, namely the fight against those who want to keep hegemony, and on the other hand, those who would like to live in a free world where the United Nations demand to respect sovereign equality of states, is really implemented, be it BRICS, be it Shanghai Cooperation, be it Gulf Cooperation Council, ASEAN, and many others. So the fight of these two worlds, one phasing out and another one emerging, is not going without clashes. And the conflicts which were aggressive adventures which were launched by the US and its allies in Iraq, Libya, Palestine, because the behavior of the United States on what is going on in Palestine is absolutely unacceptable, invading Syria, all this is the repetition of the old, very old habit to create some havoc, some mess, and then to fish in the muddy waters. And the Middle East and Europe is not enough already. The NATO under the United States command pronounced last year at the summit that the security in Euro-Atlantic is indivisible from the security in Indo-Pacific region. So they already eye the entire Eurasian continent, including South China Sea, Strait of Taiwan, the Korean Peninsula. They are creating NATO-like military blocks. NATO infrastructure is being promoted to the region. This is a reflection of attempts not to allow the hegemony to phase out. But this
Of course, right now, U.S. is facing huge challenge. Their dollar hegemony is almost gone. Russia, they do really need to tighten their borders and make sure that NATO doesn't come anywhere close to their borders along Ukraine and from other sides. But definitely this is something that will be ongoing in terms of the discussion and the narrative of it. But Sergei Lavrov, basically what he said and what I understand is that he called Israel a criminal state supported by the West, and NATO is a imperialistic mission on which they are riding the wave of conquering more land and dominating the rest of the world. Thank you so much for joining.